Hi, I'm Ewan McGregor, and these are some of my characters that I played. I'm not going to call them iconic. You can. Obi-Wan Kenobi. The last two questions of every interview I ever did for years was, would you do the sequel to Trainspotting, and would you ever play Obi-Wan Kenobi again? Almost like guaranteed that would be the last two questions that people would sneak in at the end when the publicist is saying that's time's up. So I would always answer honestly, and Disney called me in eventually to the Lucasfilm office in LA, and I sat down with a lady called Kiri, and she just said, look, we can see that you're saying that you would play Obi-Wan again. We just want to know if you mean it. Do you want to? And I said, yes, I think there's got to be a good story to tell between episode 3 and episode 4. There's got to be some great story there. If we took this character that people know and love from Alec Guinness as this wise, old, sage, powerful, spiritual man, the work that I did in 1 to 3, from a trainee Jedi, Padawan, to somebody sitting on the Jedi Council with Yoda, you know, we take him to a broken place, that he's faithless and broken. That would be interesting. That would be a good, interesting place to start. The fight is done. We lost.
What happened to you? You were once a great Jedi.
The time of the Jedi is over. It was originally going to be a movie. Stephen Daldry was going to direct it at one point. We had sort of workshops in New York where we did, you know, brainstorming for storylines, and then Deborah Chow came on board, and she sort of worked with the writers in one direction. Then it switched to a very different story. She's really a brilliant director. Her vision goes through all of the episodes. She directed all the episodes, which I think was key. You know, she's really, really good. But playing him was as easier in a way, because I think the sort of broken Obi-Wan Kenobi, the solitary, lonely character we find at the beginning of the series, is a bit closer to Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan Kenobi than my sort of swashbuckly, you know, General Kenobi that I running around on lizards and stuff. So I loved it very much, and I've always got to feel Alec Guinness in my head or sitting on my shoulder, wherever he is. I've got to feel like him to whatever degree when I'm playing the role, and I was just felt that bit closer to him.
There's more to life than your farm, Owen. He needs to see that. There's a whole galaxy out there.
I'm asking you to leave us alone, Ben. I mean it.
Is he okay?
You don't care if he's okay. You care if he's showing.
It's my responsibility, Owen.
Well, I'm his uncle.
We talked about this. When the time comes, he must be trained.
Now, after we've just finished doing this television series with the stagecraft set, you know, we're surrounded by this huge dome that is an LCD screen that they play the backgrounds onto, which is connected to the camera. It reads the iris on the camera, it reads the movement of the camera. So as the camera moves, the perspective of the background will move, and you shoot against it, and you don't have to put it on afterwards, it's there. But for us, it means you're surrounded by what feels like the real thing.
Raise your head. I said raise your head.
If you're in the desert, well, there's a desert set on the floor and everything, but everywhere you look around you and above you is the desert, and it feels really real. But if you're flying through space in your spaceship, space is scudding past you, the stars are flying by you. It feels much more realistic. It's much more fun. Big Fish. Big Fish was my first time in the South. It was my first time in Alabama, anyway. And I loved it. I asked them to rent me a pickup truck, and I drove myself to work in my pickup truck every day. Oh, I loved it. It was great. It was amazing working with Tim Burton. I've always hoped that that might happen again, and I still hope so. I mean, I love his imagination, and I think it's a really important film for me. It's a film that a lot of men like, and I think because it's so much about a father and a son. Some people come up to speak to me thinking about their dads, and sometimes people are talking about their sons, but it seems to hit a chord, and that's really nice when that happens. Also, I got to make fantastical things happen. I got to work with elephants in a circus, and it was just an amazing experience to do. I loved working with Tim Burton because when he's between action and cut, it was just a sense of play. It was never really a sense of trying to get something right. It just felt like he was so free. He's sort of like a mad professor and sort of tearing his hair out about getting to shoot because, you know, the Jenny goes down and the light's not working and this, that, and the other. And I can remember like his hair would get higher and higher during the day as he like, because it's this impatience to shoot. One thing that I'd never forget is making it into the local newspaper for parallel parking so badly. There's the scene where I drive up with Steve Buscemi in the Charger and I have to reverse into a spot. Apparently, I didn't do that very well, and it was written about Mr. McGregor is not a very good parker. Halston.
Jeans are a fad. Balenciaga didn't do fads, and neither will I.
Fad? I mean, look at Calvin Klein. He sold...
Do not come into my office, David, and mention that man's name.
I didn't know who Halston was when I was first approached about the series, and I think that's possibly why I found him so interesting, because Dan Minahan, the director, was showing me these photographs of this man who was not clearly very glamorous, pictures of him arriving at Studio 54 with people taking his pictures, and he described him as the most famous man you've never heard of. I've always found that photographs are very useful in terms of if you're playing somebody who's really existed. Yeah, of course you can watch interviews, you can listen to their voice. There's something that a photograph can capture that tells you a lot about somebody. And with Halston, it was very much his hands. His fingers were always in the most beautiful position.
Yes.
I have this feeling like he sort of curated his life, you know. He liked to have camera crews around. He started filming everything, so there's lots of footage of him. I had my hair darkened to play him because he had dark hair, so when we went back from lockdown, I went back to LA. I thought at first we were told, you know, we're shutting down for 2 weeks. But the first thing I did was, once I realized it wasn't going to be quick, so we went back, I wanted to try and lighten my hair because it's odd when you're you, but you don't look like you. It's fine if you're working on something, but when I was just off, so I went to the supermarket and I got some hair lightener. I just bought it off the shelf. I thought this'll do. It made my hair totally peroxide, like yellow-white, you know? And this like shit. I had a nightmare that they might call me back to work, you know, like soon, and I would be turning back up with this like orangey white hair. Oh my God.
Now hold this. Put your neck there.
Our costume designer, Jerriana, was amazing at teaching me how to make the dresses that I am seen making in the show. I can't learn to be a amazing dressmaker in, you know, a few months. So what we did is we took each time you see me draping, I just learned how to make those dresses, like how you would drape them. And also just the act of pinning, I had to look like I knew what I was doing. I didn't want my hands to sort of give me away. You know, he was so graceful, and I loved all the images of him, and he was always sort of behind one of his models or whoever he was draping, and look, he was really focused in the mirror. And he had this thing where he sort of sucked in beauty. You could see that his eye just looked for beautiful things and shapes. And so he was always like peering round somebody's hair, looking in the mirror, and his fingers were pinning the dress, and he wasn't looking like I would be doing to pin a dress. So those scenes made me feel quite close to him. Birds of Prey. I knew I was going to be playing Halston when I made Birds of Prey. And so I might have been, I certainly was thinking about Halston a bit.
Is that a snot bubble? Ew, gross. Oh, I've changed my mind. Peel it off.
There was something similar about the grandiosity, maybe. I think Roman wanted everything to be in his control, and I'm pretty sure Halston was like that about his work. It was just fun to play Roman. I liked that he could lose his temper like in a blinking of an eye, but like really, he goes from 0 to 100 in a split second.
There she is.
She's a child!
She's just a kid.
She's what?
We have Harley Quinn downstairs as requested.
Fuck off! Get out! Fucking out! Fuck, these are my things! This diamond is my things!
Yes.
My things! Fucking fuck! I don't ask for much, do I?
There's lots of stuff that we improvised in that film that didn't make it into the film, sadly. We improvised this whole hide and seek game in my apartment. We had this idea that when they were like super high after getting back from the club, they'd play hide and seek. He was pretty good on the page, but there was more fun to be had with him. And I love the petulant, spoiled nature of him. And that is writ in the writing with his backstory, that he came from a very, he was kicked out of his family for being the black sheep of the family. And he doesn't think he's a bad guy. He thinks he just wants to take over the world. So yeah, it was fun to play all those moments. Thank you, GQ, for letting me talk through some of my characters that I've played over the years. Check out me talking about some of my other characters on the British GQ channel.